I can't see nothing.
All right.
Let's get this party started.
We are back for episode 10. 10. We finally hit the double digit mark.
Dang.
Hey,
10.
number 10. So welcome to Hits and Heels. I am Dani Wright. That's my girl, Coach Terri Bryant. And we're here for episode 10 of Hits and Heels. Today, today's it's a heavy day with the recent tragedy that struck University of Virginia, and so we definitely want to spend the first few minutes of the show talking about that. But we've got a lot more to discuss in the sports world. My Eagles, they played horribly last night and lost. I don't even know what to say. That game, it was such a terrible game. I was like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't. It was so bad. It was so bad. We had more turnovers yesterday than we had all season. Um, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, the NFL. Is it rigged? Is it scripted? And what are the politics behind athletics? And then, of course, we have to talk about Kentucky high school football playoffs. And our nephew, my nephew Ty, his team is in the playoffs. So we're gonna be talking more football as we always do. So yeah, let's kick it off. Let's get started. Terri, what's up, y'all? Y'all have to forgive me.
What's up?
I'm over here like a snotty nosed kid today. I have been in bed for 2 days, literally. I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Had a little bit of a COVID scare, and the test came back negative. But then, at some point last night, my body was just like, and it shut down. And so, today I have spent the entire day in the bed. I woke up, I think, twice to do some meetings. I'll push through those meetings this morning, and then I had another writing assignment that I needed to finish. And then I think around 4:30, 4:30, whenever I texted you, and I went to sleep until like 7:15, and I woke up, and I finally woke up and had like a full appetite and everything. But yeah, it's been Tylenol, water, and bed for me today. So, but I'm back, feeling better. So
I'm glad you're feeling better, because I would have hated to have did this by myself again. But you hear my voice. My voice hasn't come back because I had 3 games in a row last week, and
right.
so I'm still a little hoarse. Last week was definitely an eventful thing. So we started off on Thursday, where we had our middle school championship, where we were the number 2 seed. We went up against the number 1 seed. We lost 20-8. It was devastating because we just didn't have all of our weapons that we needed. Our best player on the team, he cramped the whole second half of the game, and we had a kid that had gotten suspended from school that day, and he was an integral part of both sides of the ball. And so when you don't have all your weapons, and the kids don't have their confidence in the team, and you could just kind of tell that they did that. We got hit in the mouth real early, but we were able to bounce back from that. But then we had some stupid penalties, and that's just how the cookie falls, right? So we were disappointed there. But then we came back on Friday, and Ty and them played Covenant Catholic, which was a rematch of the state championship two years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, um, where they beat us like 14-6 in the state title game. Ty was the only player that scored on our team in that game, and of course we blew them out. We did. They did score um, of a bad snap, and they were able to pick it up and walk it into the end zone. But that was the only way that they were able to score. Our defense is just absolutely unfreaking believable. I think we've only given up like 46 points the whole year, like the
I'm
whole
surprised
season.
y'all gave up that much. Because y'all were blowing people out.
Yeah,
I'd be like, what was the score? Oh,
yeah.
girl, 50,
Well,
54
well,
nothing.
I'll be
What?
honest. The reason why they did score is because we're blowing people out in the first quarter. So then we're
Mm-hmm.
bringing in our third string,
Right.
in our JV, and they're just letting them play. And so, and they scored with them. This it's not because the starters are not giving up. Matter of fact, I might be mistaken, but I don't think the starters have given up any points. I mean, I'm talking about Scott County is still in the regionals with us, and we blew them out. We totally shut them out, and they're one of the top teams in the state in our division. We're in 5A, and so we're blowing them out. So but this Friday, girl, is the matchup. We're going against Woodford County, and so Woodford County is coached by Dennis Johnson, who played at Kentucky. He's a great friend of my husband and I, and we have a whole lot of respect for him. They've
Mm-hmm.
got a couple of players that we actually coached. One of them we coached our first year. So we've got a couple of players that actually probably should be in Lexington, but they chose to go to Woodford County to play. That'll be part of the reason why I wanted to talk about the politics, because there was a video that was shown, and they talked about politics, and I think that the definition of that needs to be kind of talked about anyway. And so then Saturday I had my scrimmage with the women's tackle football team. um, Canada came down and got their butts whooped 38-0. It was cold as all get out. There was still snow on the field, but
Mm-mm.
my girls still showed up and showed out. It was great. It was great stuff. It was great stuff. Lots of stuff we still need to work on. I was just looking at the huddle today and looking at the film on it to see the areas that we need to improve. And we have a coaches meeting tomorrow to discuss to do film as well. And then I thought we were gonna wait until January to kind of get started, but they're ready to get started immediately. So I actually have practice on Thursday. I actually had practice today, but I had scheduled something else before I knew we were going to have practice. So, but I do have practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays now going forward. So we might have to reschedule and look at another time for us to showcase hits and heels. But we'll talk about that on another time. Um, and the whole, like you said, and the whole Virginia thing. Oh my God. So Ty's best friend is Xavier Brown. He was the Kentucky Gatorade Player of the Year. He attends Virginia. And so when I heard about it, I immediately go on Facebook to his mom, because me and his mother are Facebook friends. And I'm so thankful. She was like, well, Xavier is fine. And he's safe. And it was just a sigh of relief, because of course you just hear about the tragedy, but then you don't hear, they don't do the names or anything until they're able to contact the family and stuff. So that was a little
Right.
moment for us. And then one of Ty's players, I want you guys to keep him in prayer. Corey Gamble fell asleep after the game on the way home, and he hit a tree, and he broke like both legs. He broke his back. I mean, he, thankful they're saying that he should be able to make a full recovery. But he's blessed. But on the sad end note of it, one of Ty's people that he went to school with, he knows the little girl, was driving her car, and they're saying that the steering wheel kind of locked up, and she went over the bridge on the Kentucky River, and they pulled her out, but she didn't make it. So they're getting ready to have her visitation and funeral and stuff. This week and stuff. And that was just a really, really sad moment. So when I tell you that this has been an emotional 3 to 5 days, it's just been a lot. It's just been a lot. It's just been a lot. And so right now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got the TV on, and so it's the Classic in Indianapolis, and right now Michigan State and Kentucky are playing, and they're on right now. So that's what I was doing before that. I almost missed this because right now it's like 3.7 seconds left and it's tied 62-62.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I
been a
think
good game. Yeah. It's been a good
this
game.
is
So I guess Kentucky's ranked fourth coming into this year's season. So,
yeah,
we're
I have the game on, but I don't have my glasses on. My glasses are somewhere around here, so I can't see the score or anything. Um but yeah, I do have the game on. I had to switch it from the news. I was trying to see if they had more information about the shooting in UVA, but I think that's
Mhm.
going to be a long
Yeah.
process.
Well, I think that people like you with your credentials in the sociology part of it, just really can play a big part of helping kids, because apparently the kid that did the shooting was on the team at one time.
He was
So
on the team, but he was also on the school's radar for other incidents, and I think this speaks to um, how do we as a nation handle mental health issues. Um, Unfortunately, we are very reactive. And so the way we deal with it is, oh my gosh, something happened, rather than, hey, you know what? Let's pull him out of school. Let's do something a little more proactive because he's showing signs of being mentally disturbed. And I think that there's never an excuse for violence, you know, but we do have to address and do better with addressing our mental health crisis in this nation. It is a crisis. We're seeing that even more now since COVID. People don't know how to handle their emotions. They don't know how to respond to adversity. And so when we don't have the tools and the mechanisms, um, when tragedy hits or something goes wrong in our lives, like we lash out, or people just they're just out of control. I mean, I saw that in my own situation.
right.
um and so I think that it speaks to the need for greater access, but also greater accountability. I just have so many questions for UVA
Yeah.
that, like, why, like, what was done to prevent this?
Mm.
What was done? You say he was on your radar for like 3 other incidents or something like that. But what was
And that
done?
he had possession of a weapon
Yeah.
then.
And he was saying things and doing, like, his behavior was odd long before he ever resorted to this. And it makes me question what we are doing collectively to ensure the safety of others. Like, it's mind-boggling to me that someone is on the radar and they still manage to take things to this level.
And you didn't pull him in and do some type of a health and wellness check, maybe that might have been on a mental.
Yeah, that's my
I don't know
question.
what the protocol is, but
And
it
I don't know, and that's something else that we have to discuss and find out, like, how many places have a mental health protocol? When you notice something about someone, you know, and you have to report these things, what do you do from there?
Mm,
If you hear that someone is troubled, you just send them on their way. And if he's had this many incidents, do we not expel him? Or like what do we actually do to
right.
keep these tragedies from continuing to happen? And I think, obviously gun control is one. We just had 4 students in Iowa that were found shot to death as well. At what point do citizens need AR-15s?
Yeah.
It's
We
just
just had
it's
someone get shot this morning in Lexington, and Lexington now has exceeded its record number of homicides for the year. They've got the most homicides this year than they've ever had. We
mm,
just
mm,
had
mm.
somebody this morning got shot, and the gentleman, when I didn't know him, but of course a lot of the people on my page did, so I went to go just kind of look to see who he was, and he was somebody that was trying to help the community. He was trying to help the youth, and I'm thinking, like, why would you kill somebody like that? That's actually trying to do some positiveness and trying to help. And then he just lost his brother like in October, I think. So this mother is getting ready to bury another son, like months apart.
That's crazy.
And it's senseless, and it's like, I mean, we got tagged on a post. It was like, y'all need to get together. I mean, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. Um, I'm like you. I think accountability is huge because you know who's crazy and who's not crazy. You know who's not doing the right thing and who's not doing the right thing. And
Right.
and I get it. We have that no snitch clause in our community, because snitches
Hmm.
get stitches. So you can't really you know um, open up and say anything because then now then you become a target, right? Or there's retaliation. You don't want any retaliation against you or your family,
Right.
um, for being a snitch or saying something. So we're between a rock and a hard place on that. But I don't know where it ends. I don't know. Um, we've been talking about it for a long time. Every time there's been a killing, we see the same old stuff. What are we doing? Who are we putting in office? What can they do?
Right.
Um, but there, to me, it has to be some type of accountability. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this isn't funny, but I saw on TikTok they said the number one answer will be, and I'm gonna tell you what that is for everybody taking out a large insurance policy. If everybody starts having large insurance policies, the insurance companies will figure out a way to stop gun violence because they're not going to be wanting to pay out these insurance policies to people.
Right.
you know and so I thought that was a great idea, but I don't know what else. I don't know what the answer is. We done prayed and prayed and prayed, and everything is nothing has changed. It's getting worse.
I mean, but the Bible also talks about prayer. Faith without works is dead. So we
Absolutely.
can we can pray all we want to, right? But
If we don't do anything about it and don't take any action.
we have to have
Absolutely.
action.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's what irritates me so much about these thoughts and prayers. No, thoughts and prayers
What are we
are,
doing? Yeah,
yeah,
what are we doing
not
about
doing anything. People are still they're still dying, and we have so many other issues in this country where people can't get essentials that they need because everything is astronomically expensive, and basic needs like healthcare and a living wage are not accessible.
it?
And so now people, I mean, and we discount how much stress has an impact on us.
Yes.
Um, but I think it's something that we're gonna have to really take a look at. We have to really begin to take a deep dive and have some serious self-reflection on what's going on in our world, the things that are happening in our nation, and how we can actually work to be an answer and not just point fingers. Because I think now anymore we do so much finger pointing that nothing gets done at all.
I mean, I don't. You're hitting it dead on the nose, um, and we're preaching to the choir.
Right.
You know, so I just don't know what the answer is. We try to bring as much positively to our community, as much as possible. Um, I don't know. And then even our game this weekend, they've beefed up the security. Like I don't know why it's like they're afraid that it's gonna be ugly. Of course, there's a lots of trash talking on social media, but both teams are family, and there shouldn't be any reason why um there should be any beef. It
Right.
should be a good game. Whoever loses, whoever wins, it should be a good game. And and it is what it is. So I don't know. They beefed up, but they really, like, you can't. They're like, come early because you're going to go through security. There's no bags, no. I mean, they are
Oh
really,
wow.
really going in on this game. And there's another game going on in the city. Trinity's coming here to play Bryan Station, and I'm thinking, you ain't said nothing about that game,
Wow.
but why are you tripping on this one? So go figure. But I'm glad, again. But I'm glad that they're being proactive as
Right.
far as, what, something may happen. So why can't we take that same energy in just other areas, in the community? I don't know how we.
Yeah, again,
I don't know
we have a tendency to escalate things that we escalate in a way that causes fear, but then the things that need to be addressed and we need to be vigilant about and very proactive about, we don't.
we don't. Yeah.
And I think again that's why we're seeing things like this situation in Virginia. Like it, I just can't get over the fact that this school president came on for his interview and said, I want to be fully transparent with you all, and then goes into detail about how this kid has been on their radar. And it's like,
So you could have prevented this.
I mean, let's be fair, I don't know how much could be prevented, right?
Right.
Because this young man already had access to everything that he needed to commit this crime,
Hmm.
right? So beyond the school having like metal detectors and all this other stuff and cards and stuff that you need to swipe to get in and out of the classroom, not buildings but the classrooms. I mean, but he shot them on a bus.
They were coming back from a
They
field
were
trip.
coming back from a field trip, so that lets me know like this young man knew their schedule. He knew enough about them, and it begs the question like, was someone else involved, or was it
and
simply
and how.
something where he was angry about something because he used to play with them? So
Right,
this
and
is very
that was.
targeted to me.
Yes, that was my thing. And how did it happen to be he was used to be on a team, and how did it happen to be three football players? Because
Well,
it wasn't just a bus full of football players. It
no,
wasn't
that's what
like
I'm
it was the
saying. He
team.
knew he knew their
Yeah,
schedule.
it wasn't like it was the team. So how did
Hmm.
he just target those three or
Yep.
five? Well, I think it was five, right? But the three that passed were, so it is just so, like, I'm like you, just so many questions, because you're like, what in the world? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. So did you see the viral video of the girl from Kentucky?
You know, I shared that on my page, girl. When I tell you that was a whole mess, I was so disgusted. It was so bad that
Again,
even my sister-in-law um sent me a text message. She was just like, that video you shared of the drunk white girl from Kentucky was so disgraceful and disgusting. And my sister-in-law is white, but she's very much like, some stuff is just wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, some stuff is just flat out wrong. And I think that when you look at society and you look at the things that are going on from a sociological perspective, I have a huge issue with the term black on black crime. That is something that was created to further oppress us and further make us look like savages rather than humans. Because the fact of the matter is, there is more white on white crime
than
than
black on black.
black on black.
But the black on black is the only one that gets highlighted.
Yes, it's the only one that's despicable. It's the only one that is seen as us ravaging our community. Now, is it? Absolutely. However, I think from the perspective, oh Lord,
They just tied it again at one with 1.47. They're going back into a
is
double
this a
overtime,
second overtime?
and they let them drive all the way down the court instead of just stopping the ball. I mean, basketball 101 is stop the ball.
Right.
Don't let them just drive all the way down and score. Come on. Oh my God. Anyway, but you're absolutely
I'm
just
eating
hitting
my dessert, by the way.
no problem. But you're hitting that just dead on the nose. That was just really, really so. And then I think, did you hear where they were trying to fire the little girl saying that she didn't follow protocol?
Hmm. They can fire her if they want to, but that university will have hell to pay if they fire. Um, what was her name? Kayla
Mm-hmm.
Spring.
Yeah.
That's not a move that you want to make.
Yeah. You don't want
Um,
some problems.
no, because my whole thing is, even if she didn't follow protocol in that moment, she was being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
She was literally trying to help a young lady,
Yes. That was
not
out of
hurt
control.
herself.
Yes.
All she was trying to do was
She
get
was,
the young lady
yeah,
to
trying to
sit
protect her
down.
from her. Yes, absolutely. Right. And so, did you see like the follow up videos of where she, again, how she exuberated this that type of behavior before?
Absolutely. This is her character,
Yes.
you know? And I think that there are so many things you can imagine, like, a lot of people talk about, oh, I wonder what her parents are like, and sometimes it's not even a family thing. It's
You
not
a
always
lot of
a
times you can't blame stuff on the parents. Sometimes you
yeah.
can, but a lot of times you can't. Kids
And
are they get to a point they can do what the heck they want to do.
but sometimes it's not the parents. Sometimes it's the friends.
Hmm.
Um, Now, and I'm not going to speak on the young lady's family or her upbringing, but something is disconnected. Um, there's a very big disconnect, and so you have to believe that at some point conversations were had around this young woman to make her feel like black people are inferior.
To make her that comfortable with feeling like she could say it, because she definitely had a posture of being privileged and didn't think that
Absolutely.
there was going to be any type of repercussions.
Yes.
You know, I always call alcohol liquid courage. Because people do tend to drink alcohol, and they get really bold with who they are because their real personality to me comes out
It
sometimes.
does. And I've said that. And again, this goes back to even my own personal incident. Alcohol doesn't make you do certain things, right? Alcohol brings out what's already in you,
Yes.
because there are plenty of people that drink and don't get drunk.
And don't get
There are
drunk.
also people who get drunk and they go to sleep or they get silly. So not everybody becomes ignorant, not everyone becomes violent. Those are things that are already in you. That's your nature. And so the liquor is bringing that out. There are ways to control it. Like, we got anger management for you, right? We have diversity, like, and I don't mean like diversity training like for a job or something like that. I mean, like, we have trainings that can teach you how not to be racist. So
I
if it's already in you, drinking is just gonna bring it out. It's not. It's
absolutely.
nothing different, you
Yeah.
know. And I need us to stop making excuses for people who are drunk.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
there is no excuse for this stuff.
Not at all. Not at all. And again, that
So,
and then that was her fallback was,
mhm.
well, I was drunk and I didn't know what I was doing. Sis, come on.
But you were in other videos not drunk, and
And
you were
and, and
still
and
ignorant as
exuberating that
hell.
same behavior. Absolutely.
So, you know, um, that tends to that does tend to be the fallback a lot of times. Like, oh, I was drunk. No, yeah, you were drunk, but you're also just a jerk. You know what I'm saying? Like, your nature, you're a jerk. There's something wrong with you. Um, but I think again, it does speak to a lot of the issues that we see in society as well. I think that we've had politicians who, on both sides, any side, have given into the idea that the more cruel you are, the better you are as a person or as a leader. Like, so we're in a very interesting time in our nation, in the world, where cruelty is king. And we're seeing that people who lack control are revered. And the people who
Because people
are,
love drama.
they do. They do. I mean, we have reality TV stars who are politicians and leaders. And, it's like that life is not real. That's not real life. Um, but I think that, again, we just, there's, there's so many things that need to be addressed. And sometimes it can feel like you're in a sinkhole or quicksand trying to figure out, well, where do we start with this stuff?
Right.
But I feel like we have to begin to dig deep. Like, we can't do the superficial stuff anymore. We just can't. It's causing people to lose their lives. So,
I mean, you're absolutely right. So I mean, again, that's another issue that how do we get it addressed?
hmm
We could talk race all day, but you know, um, it's something that's in people, and it's like being an alcoholic. Until you recognize that trait in you,
right.
you're never gonna acknowledge it in order to fix it, in order to change it,
And
or
not
let's
just
just put in
and not just recognize it, but understand that
understand.
there when you recognize those things, you have to be willing to take action to correct those things, you know. And when we don't, then we experience a severe lack of control, lack of self-control, and it just creates pandemonium.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, what's next, sis? What we gonna talk
Girl,
about next?
so I want to talk about the politics. So that I had two of my friends did a video the other day, and it was really, really good because they talked about the whole Frederick Douglass versus Woodford County, right? And one of the biggest topics that they talked about was, you can't, like, Frederick Douglass is loaded with talent. And so we've had lots of kids that have chosen to go to school someplace out of district or elsewhere because they felt like it's a better opportunity for them. And so the politics comes into play. I'm hoping that I don't misunderstand it. If I felt like the politics came into play because people were mad that kids were going to other schools, or Frederick Douglass has the Carter G. Woodson program, and so those players that are in the Carter G. Woodson program play at Frederick Douglass, but they might not necessarily be in Frederick Douglass district, and there's not a lot of them. But the perception is that people are using the Carter G. Woodson Academy program to be able to come to play at Frederick Douglass. And so people are using that as, I don't know, hating, like hating on Frederick Douglass because they have been a powerhouse since they've been in existence for 5 years. So they have never lost a game to any of the other city schools since they've been in existence in football. They've totally, I think they're like 29 or 33-0 against city schools. And they've been dominating them. Like, we're blowing them all out.
Wow.
So, and so people are kind of mad at that, but it was a brand new school, and they were saying that it depleted the talent in all the other schools. So it's like all the talent is at Frederick Douglass, but that's not true. All the other schools still have talent as well. It's just, again, Frederick Douglass they've been just blessed to have a group of kids that and a coaching staff to be able to build a program, which is what we're trying to do even at Crawford. I felt like we were loaded this year, and we're going to reload next year. And pretty soon they're going to be talking about us, because when we start winning championships, that's going to be what's going to happen, because it's going to happen. But that's the politics that I wanted to kind of address. How do you feel about, you were an athlete, there's a school that wins, and would you rather go to that school or another school? Oh, I'll tell you what, let's take it out of that and let's use the SEC. Okay, so you have a Kentucky that's building a program that has never won a championship, that has never won an SEC championship, but they're building a program. Or do you go to Alabama, where they always win, or Georgia, where they always win, or LSU, where they always win? So that's kind of like what the situation is. Everybody wants to go where they're winning. And so I guess the politics of it is you gotta go where you feel like it's best for you. So if I'm an athlete and I want to play immediately, but I want to go against the best, I feel like I want to play in the SEC. SEC's put more players in the NFL. They're dominating the championship every year. The best players are in the SEC, hands down. Or do I go to a Cincinnati or another Power 5 school in the Big East or the Big Ten, and so that I feel like that I can get more playing time as a player, and maybe I can stand out more as a player, but I'm not going to be going against the competition that I would if I'm in the SEC. Because who's your college team?
So I'm a Louisville fan.
Okay.
But also Ohio State.
Ohio State. Okay, so we'll use Ohio State as an example. So Ohio State is undefeated, right? They're still undefeated, right? What are they ranked? Number 2, number 3, number 4?
They're number 2.
Number 2. Okay. But then what the talk is, or where the politics comes in, is that, but when you compare them to um, an SEC school, their strength of schedule is not as intense,
Right.
and so
Unless you're in the conference.
unless you're in the, unless you're in the SEC conference. So when you're a Kentucky, you'd had to play Florida, which they happen to beat them, but normally Florida is in the top 25. So you're having to play every year. You're having to play Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. Um, every once in a while you have to play Alabama. You have to play LSU. You have to play. Of course, Missouri is kind of in there. You have Vandy, which are kind of on the bottom, but Ole Miss is always good. Texas A&M is always good. I mean, I don't know why he ain't got fired yet, but I found out that he hasn't. His buyout is too high, and so you're playing a top 5 team at least 3 or 4 times out of your season, as opposed to Ohio State may be lucky. They're going to play Michigan, who's always going to be in it, and they're going to play, I don't know who else that might be in it. You see what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of where it ends up being just political when it comes to the seeding and stuff like that, because like even us, we don't play anybody because we're blowing
Right.
everybody out, and it doesn't prepare us for the championship game.
Right.
It doesn't. And then we're looking at all of the leaderboards. Okay, so like for instance, so my son is a player of the year candidate. He's on none of the leaderboards because he only plays the first freaking quarter of the game. I'm not mad at Kentucky. Just lost. It's 82-76. Kentucky done lost.
Oh, wow.
The game's not over. It's like 18 seconds left, but it's like 76-82. So
Okay.
Kentucky's done.
2 possession game.
Yeah. It's done. It's 18 seconds. It's done. And so, when you're looking at it from, I guess that perspective of, is it fair for him that he doesn't get his stats because he's there? Why put him in the game and risk getting injured, or put him in the game just to be pulling up his stats? That's not fair against a team. And then is it really legit when it's a team that you can blow out?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, we've been a little torn because we're like, he's not getting the ball enough. Why don't they feature him so that he can get his stats, so that he can, so that they can make sure that he gets this player of the year? But then at the other hand of it, I'm like, it makes sense, because why can't play him? You can't play your starters, in a game that's we're getting blown out, because now other teams get salty, they start taking pot shots and that kind of thing, and so you just don't want to run the risk. So that's been a really, really sore topic in our household. But I think the politics of it, in the other video, I wasn't understanding, because I feel like as a parent or as a child, you should take your child should go wherever they want to go, where they feel comfortable. If that child does not want to compete and feel that it's easier to go to another school so that they can play, then that's how I look at it. Or do you want to rise up to the occasion and go to like an Alabama over Georgia, where you're going to sit the bench for 2 years and wait your turn? What do you think about that? What is the
To me, it's a personal preference. I don't think that there's anything that anyone can say or do. I think that one of the big issues is that we have allowed our kids to specialize in one sport from such an early age that they don't get the full experience of what it's like to be to have that team feel. And so If I'm specializing in football from the age of 5 and I played no other sports, you know, it, how is that helping me develop? But at the same time, if I do specialize in one sport and I'm good, I think it's natural to want to go to the team that's winning. I think that's nature. That is a sociological perspective again of how we integrate and how we are socialized, how we have a sense of belonging, all of those things, right? And sports is often the conduit for people having that sense of belonging. You identify with the sports you play, the position you play, the team that you play for, the city that you're from. So, all of these nuances that impact our identity. And so, if I identify with a winning team, how does that impact me in other groups? And I think that's something that we also have to understand. Sometimes it's not about how often I play, right? But if I can say I played for, you know, Kentucky men's basketball, knowing their rich history, or Alabama football, knowing their rich history,
Right.
even a team like Texas and LSU and all these mega teams, they have a rich history. What do you expect people to do?
Right. I mean,
So,
and that's how I feel about it. I mean, if they're winning, why would you want to be, if you're at a school that went 0 and 10
hello.
and you have an opportunity to move to a different district, or they have a program that can allow you to go to a different school so that you can see success. Who wants to be, nobody wants to be associated with that. But then how do those teams develop? How do the
Right.
other, I'm real curious, and so I created a Facebook group because I was like, look, we got 4 teams that are in our regionals this week. It would be great to have 4 teams win a regional out of Lexington this week, because we're in the 5A. Bryan Station is in the 6A. Um and I think Lexington LCA is Lexington Christian. I don't know what they're 2 or 4 or something like that. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. It might be Lexington Catholic. I think Lexington Catholic and Lexington Christian are both in it too. Um, because I think the rest of the teams are out, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, it would be nice to have 4 teams in the regionals, because now you can talk Lexington, but at the same time, who doesn't want to be associated with a winning team? And you can't fault kids for wanting to go where they're winning. And but because winning brings also the attention um of the scouts. So I think in my group, I think I posted a flyer where they have like all of the pictures of all of the players and where they're playing at on the next level. And um, Frederick Douglass is the only school that I see on social media where Dabo Sweeney has walked through the halls, or South Carolina has come through, or Ole Miss has come through, or Alabama coach has come through. Um, you know, recently, Alabama, I guess, recruited Dedrick Wills a couple of years ago out of oh my God, Lafayette. But Lafayette was in the state championship game at that time when he was being recruited. They had went to the state championship twice and lost in the 6A. So why would, of course they were good. They had a couple so they had another player that played at Kentucky on the team, 2 of them that played at Kentucky at the team that was good enough to get recruited by Kentucky. And that was when Kentucky started, I think the first time in years that Kentucky had any Lexington players on their roster because we was in a drought because there was like nobody really, really good enough coming out of Lexington to be good enough to go to. And I don't know when is the last time someone was on that played significantly for Louisville out of Lexington.
Out of Lexington?
Yeah.
Never.
JT has,
Like,
you know
never.
what I mean? Antoine Sims. But I'm talking about they've been gone for years. You see what I'm saying? So that's just one of the things that, another thing that they talked about that I thought was not with just politics, it made me think of you was how come Kentucky State isn't at our games recruiting? Like, I don't understand between Louisville, Lexington, and I'm going to say Cincinnati.
So I think
Kentucky State should be loaded every year.
This speaks to a different aspect of sports, though, because it's not that HBCUs don't recruit, but it goes back to number one, and it's funny because we were just talking about this. It's one of the things that our conference, the GCAC, is addressing is how do we make it so that HBCUs are relevant again? And because we know we're relevant, right?
Yeah.
We know we're relevant. We know we have some amazing talent at our schools. But for some reason, others think that HBCUs are like bottom of the barrel. And it's again, like, well, why you want to play for an HBCU? Da, 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 da. And so that's why, again, I think what Dion is doing is so important because it is gathering attention again for HBCUs. But the flip side of that is that until organizations and people begin to pour into HBCUs the way they do PWIs, it is hard for us to compete with $10 million facilities, right?
And I get that, but I feel like I know in the last, me and my husband been together 13 years, and I've seen the talent. So I'm at games, and I'm seeing the talent, and these kids are graduating, and they're not going anywhere. They're not playing on the next level. And I'm looking at them like, well, heck, they could have went and played at Kentucky State.
Right.
I'm not saying that Kentucky State is on the bottom of the barrel or that they're low level. I'm just saying I know that they should have been able to play at the next level. And I know that we don't have a lot of people coming to Kentucky to see players play. Ohio is a they go to Ohio for some reason. The level of play is bigger. The players are better. I mean, they coach them better in Ohio or Florida or Texas or Alabama or in the South, period. Right. I remember when I had an opportunity to talk to Coach Jeremy Pruitt from Tennessee before he got fired. And I was at a coach's clinic and I was like, you need to recruit my son. Right. And he looks at a couple of films and then he comes back and he offers him a scholarship. And I'm thinking like, wow, is it that easy? But what he told me was he doesn't recruit north of Birmingham.
And a lot of schools do that. A lot of schools
right, and there probably are a lot of places and areas where they know that the level of play is top notch, and that's the only place where they recruit, right? Yep. But what I'm saying is that the level of talent in Lexington and Louisville should be. You should be able to pull together. I mean, you're not going to tell me you can't pull. We got Frederick. You can't pull a player from Frederick Douglass, Dunbar, Lafayette, Takes Creek, Henry Clay, Mail, Ballard, uh, Louisville Central, you know, Trinity, St. X, and put a decent team together, or LaConta West out of Cincinnati, and put a good team together of players that want to come and continue to still be able to play and get a good education and and compete.
Yeah.
So I just would like, Kentucky State to do a little bit more recruiting. I would like to see them on the sidelines more. I mean, it's not like it's out of the way. It's just right up the street. Like right now, Woodford County, we're playing Woodford County. Well, it's only 10 minutes from Woodford County. You mean to tell me that y'all got a home game and you can't run over to Woodford County and watch the first half of the game? They're one of the top. They're the number 2 team in the state.
Right.
Number 2 team in the state all year, and they're doing great things. I mean, I'm just saying they're full of talent, and I don't understand. Again, I don't understand.
Right.
As a coach, you're trying to win, so go get the best. There are some kids that I talked to my boy Ron today, and we got to make sure we get him on as a guest, because he's a former coach and he can enlighten us on a lot of things. It's all glitz and glamour to go off somewhere to college. But at the same time, if you have the opportunity to play in your backyard where your friends and family can come and you continue to have that level of support, and now they're not going into debt supporting you, because now they have to travel, they have to get planes, they got to get hotel rooms, they're eating and all of that. And now the money that they've spent traveling to support you, you could have stayed, locally and got a education locally. So that's where I feel like I definitely want to bring more awareness, and I got to figure out how to go connect with Kentucky State's coach, so I can just have a conversation on what's going on.
Yeah, I would definitely, send them a message.
Absolutely, I am, because there's players here that, again, I mean, I think there was another kid I saw on TikTok, and he was like, he wanted to go to an HBCU, and none of them were recruiting him. And he said he was reaching out to HBCUs, and they weren't responding back to him. And I was like, that is so freaking weird. And he was somebody that had 25, 26 D1 offers, and he was wanting to go to a HBCU, and he said that he was reaching out to them, and they weren't responding back to him. I'm about to send that to you. When I see it again, I'm going to send it to you, because again, it was like, what?
That's wild.
So they have a questionnaire, just like everybody, just like everybody else.
Yeah, of course.
So so why wouldn't you want to, so if you're not good enough to go to Kentucky, and you maybe not good enough for Louisville or Western or EKU or Moorhead or
right,
where we have Murray, okay, so we still have like Kentucky Westland, and we have Lindsey Wilson, and we have Thomas More. We still have other small schools here that you can go to. We have Georgetown College, I think it's NAIA, right? It's right here. Why would you not, want to take advantage? Because we had one kid that went to Georgetown. We had 2, I think, from last year that went. They were really good, and I felt like they probably could have went someplace bigger. But I thought it was a great that they went to Georgetown College and stayed right here close to home. And now the parents can go see them play every weekend, and the family can go see them, and their friends can go and watch them play every weekend. And you're still going to get a quality education, and now you're not putting a financial burden or strain on your family. I just think that that's something with the recruiting process that needs to be addressed, that I don't think a lot of families take into consideration. They just want to go. They're so caught up in the D1 major opportunities, because at that point, to me, it becomes an ego thing. Well, I just want to prove to myself that I can play D1 ball, or I think I'm better than what how I'm being recruited. But also the recruiting process is just so extensive. I mean, you really got to do something to stand out.
right.
And our players, and like I said, our players at Frederick Douglass, it's almost impossible for them to get recruited because they're not showing up on the leader stats, on the leader charts, because they can't play enough. They can't get enough reps in to show up on the leader, on as the, who are the top tacklers and who are the top running backs. And our running backs are the bomb, but they're not showing up on any of the leaderboards because they don't even play a full game. They don't even play a half a game because they're blowing everybody out. So then sometimes it's a downfall by being a good team. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because now you don't get the stats and you don't get to play and you don't get the reps as much because, why blow it again? What was IMG just blew a team out? That was ridiculous. 74-0 at halftime.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was
something like that. 74-84 at halftime. I mean, come on.
Listen.
If we left all of our players in the game, that's what our scores would look like. If our kids played the whole game and we just didn't let up. But to me, that's not that's just not good sportsmanship. Yo, boy, he's on the phone. I'm just saying.
Cisco is funny because when he gets on the phone, it's like,
and he don't know how loud he is, and he no consideration. That's the stuff I go with. Love him to death, but he gonna do him.
Listen,
but that's anyway. That was just my thing about the whole. I guess kind of all tied into the just the politics of it. Is what is that? People are mad at Frederick Douglass because they feel like they're recruiting. They're not recruiting. Like we live in Frederick Douglass district. So Ty was gonna go to Frederick Douglass anyway. But his mother lives in Bryan Station district, right? So if he wanted to go to Bryan Station, I guess he could. He could have had a choice, but he attends Carter G, and Carter G, they require them to play at Frederick Douglass. So even if he wasn't in the Carter G program, he still had a choice to play at either, at either.
Look at Cisco. Hey, Cisco. I see you peeking back there. What you doing? Cisco.
We're not on live anymore.
Yes, we're still live.
We're still live.
Are we still live?
Yes.
He said we still live.
So what is our topic?
We were just talking remember we was talking about the politics, and we were just talking about.
All right, yeah, I heard that. Okay, here's my problem when people say politics. Politics is when the dad's the head coach and he puts his son as shortstop and his son is the 9th best player on the team. That's politics. Politics is not going to another school just because you want your child to play, or this kid is good and you play them the whole game. Mm-hmm. That's not politics. Okay, I don't know the definition of people's politics. Politics to me is when you put somebody in a position that doesn't belong there. Right? We're grown adults. Isn't that politics? If the gymnastic person is good and you don't put them as the number one person, you put them at number 3 because you want your cousin to be number 1. That's politics. I don't get the terminology politics with people. I don't. Because Frederick Douglass, it's got some kids that's all going to D1. I know that was the subject with y'all. They're going D1 because they can play. And the people that say they can play don't know them. They came and watched them. They watched film. They got their grades. And the one thing that nobody's talking about by Frederick Douglass is they all got nice GPAs. They all got 3.5, 4.0. They're amazing young men. They're amazing young men. They just don't run and jump. They can read and write. So I'm done. Like I always put my 2 cents in, and thank y'all for allowing that. I don't know what to say when 2 beautiful women just stare at you and smile. Okay. I'm just saying.
But he brought my point, just exactly what I was talking about as far as just the politics. I think
Yeah.
people just need to redefine what that definition is, as far as what politics is. And I think, when I was watching the video the other day, that's what I felt like. I felt like they were mentioning politics in regard to kids that were determining whether or not they wanted to go to another school. To me, that's not political. That's not politics. Politics
Right.
is, again, a coach has favorites. Again, a dad is on a team, and they're featuring their child, and they're making sure that their child gets the ball, more than the players that probably should get the ball. That's again, I think that's where politics is involved. And I think that, a lot of the Pee Wee ball, especially the Parks and Rec and stuff, you have a lot of daddy coaches, daddy ball, they call it daddy ball, and they want to make sure that their kid gets featured, because they might not get featured any other way if they're not the coach.
Right.
So, and I have to commend Cisco, because that's one of the things that he didn't do was, he could have easily been on the staff, but he chose to watch Ty from the sideline. He wanted to be able to coach, and be able to watch his son and enjoy watching him play, and not coach, because now when you're coaching, you start missing things, and you're not able to enjoy your child play. So I just got to give him his props on that. I thought it was a good move. But we enjoy coaching the kids up and putting them in position to be successful. Because we've been feeding. This is our 4th year, and we're feeding Frederick. There's a lot of our kids that we get at Crawford are starters at are starters at Frederick Douglass, and they're doing really well, and they're being successful. So I feel like we're doing something right in that aspect, because we're preparing them to be able to go to a Frederick Douglass, to be able to play. Because
absolutely.
it's very competitive there. You can't be no punk going to Frederick Douglass. You got to be willing to play.
Right.
To me, Frederick Douglass is the Alabama of our, we should be called them Alabama. Right now, they're Alabama of Lexington. Because they have that type of dominance over all of the other schools, and even everybody in our district that we play. We've been totally dominant for the last 5 seasons.
Yeah.
So, and they're like Alabama, and if we lose, we've lost how many? 2. Let me see. We've lost. We've lost 1, 2. So we've lost 2 state championships. So that was 2. We lost the Scott County, I think, our first year. I think they lost 3 the first year. I think we've only lost 5 games in the last 5 years.
Oh wow.
And been to 2 state championships. So and I think just that just says a lot about the program.
Absolutely.
And just what they're doing. And you just can't, I just want people just to take the politics out of it. Like this Saturday, if anybody, this Friday, I just want a good game. I want everybody to get along. When the game is over, it should be like a family reunion, because both teams, there's lots of, kids that have grown up together playing, whatever Pee Wee ball together, are all going to come back together, and you can't be mad at a players or parents that decide to take their kid to a different school because of the level of competition that's at Frederick Douglass.
Right. That's true.
That's why even now, you got so many kids in the portal, because they feel like they're good enough at Alabama, or they feel like they're good enough at a Georgia or Kentucky. And then when they don't get the playing time that they feel like they should get or earn, because you didn't go and earn it, you didn't go do what you needed to do to earn it, then they go into the portal so they can go someplace else to play,
Right.
But to me, what does that really teach you? Step your game up. Now, I will say this. The one point that they did make was there are a lot of coaches that don't promote their kids. But that's not, to me, with social media and the way things are right now, I think that has to be on the parents now. That has to be a parent responsibility. It's like grades. It's my responsibility to go to the school, to the parent teacher conferences, to get on Infinite Campus and make sure that my child is getting their grades. Right? If I have an athlete and I have an athlete that wants to go to the next level, I can't be relying on a coach that has 120 people on his roster to think that he's going to go out of his way to make sure that my child gets to the next level, unless my child is just an absolute stud, right? Because the ones that are studs are just going to make it regardless. You almost don't really have to promote them, because they're going to go to camps, they're going to go other places in order to showcase who they are, and they're going to get seen then. A lot of people don't know this, but Ty went to when he went to Kentucky's football camp last time, he showed his butt. Like, he was locking up all the 4-star, 5 stars, and was cocky about it. And he got the attention of all the coaches. They all wanted him to commit that day at the camp. And he was like, "No, I'm good." but he got in front of them and made sure that he showed who he was.
Right.
And so, as parents, to me, that's what you got to do. You got to just you got to invest in whatever is necessary in order to put your child in position to be successful. But with that, we way over. This hour goes by so fast.
It does go by fast. It does.
It goes by so fast, but it's fun.
I'm definitely enjoying it, and we would love to get your feedback on our show. So if you have things that you want to hear us talk about, we're hoping that you will also send it to us, but also hop on and chat with us during our show. This show is really not about us. It's about you all. It's about us educating you all, helping you understand sports, helping you understand all of the ins and outs of athletics, and how you can get involved and remain involved and be an advocate for yourself and for your kids. And so we're just really excited to have this opportunity to share with you all our expertise and our passion as well. And we also love that my brother Cisco, I know he eavesdropping somewhere. Cisco, I know you can hear me.
He's on the phone again.
But
we just going to bring him on for this, like, a whole freaking show.
Yeah, he needs a whole. We're gonna have to do a series with him.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I think that also speaks to something that we discussed a few weeks ago. It was like week 3 or week 2 about support, what support looks like.
Yes.
And so I think it's really important that we offer support, but also that we receive support. And so we appreciate those who come back and like our posts. Please share our content. We're trying to do this big and hopefully turn this into an actual online broadcast. So but yeah, so that's all we have.
All the studio stuff,
yeah,
and
we
all
gotta
that
upgrade our
stuff.
studio. But yeah, so thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for your support and for just continuing to engage with us. We are literally just getting started, so keep rocking with us. But that's all we got for tonight. I'm going back to bed so I can actually feel like a full human being and not like this. It's like having an out-of-body experience for 2 days, and I don't like it. But I'm going to listen to my body, and I'm going to go back to sleep. But thank you all so much for being here with us. And we will see you next Tuesday. Same time, same channel, same 2 people. Plus our plus one, Cisco. Here we go. Love y'all.
Love y'all.